Alright, so our next problem is number 9. It says use half-angle identities to find the exact value of each. Okay, so that means I need to come over here. Half angle, we're going to look at these in the middle, this column right here. Move this here. Come over, see if that doesn't do what I want it to do. Oh well, I think that's enough space there anyway. Alright, so cosine of pi over 8. Well, we want to use our unit circle. Well, to use my unit circle, I need to have something that's on my unit circle, and pi over 8 is not on my unit circle. However, I can use this right here and my half angle and say, well, what divided by 2 would make pi over 8? Well, remember, if I'm saying something divided by 2 equals this, I'm really multiplying this by 2. And I'll try to make this make a little more sense by hopefully writing on this. So what we're going to do is say cosine of something divided by 2. Well, something divided by 2 ultimately gives me pi over 8. Well, if I multiply, then I get by 2 pi over 4. Okay, so if I do pi over 4 divided by 2, I do in fact get pi over 8. So these two cosines are equivalent. But by doing that, I say that, oh, my u is now pi over 4. Pi over 4 is on my unit circle. So that means I can use this right here. Okay. Now notice it has a plus or minus in front of it, and we know that the plus or minus came from the identities on the far right side that had the square on them. So if I took square root, I have to take a plus or minus. But our answer isn't going to be plus or minus. We know which one it's going to be. Well, we have cosine of pi over 8. Pi over 8 is in which quadrant? Well, pi over 8 is in the first quadrant because it's between 0 and 1/2. 1/8 is between 0 and 1/2. So pi over 8 is between 0 and pi over 2. Well, cosine in the first quadrant is positive. So our answer we know is going to be positive square root. Okay? Well, let's plug in. We have 1 plus cosine of not pi over 8, but pi over 4, because that's our u. So cosine of pi over 4. And just so I can save writing, let's think about what is cosine of pi over 4. Well, cosine of pi over 4 is the square root of 2 over 2. And then I have all of that divided by 2. Okay? And we can simplify our answer, but before I do, I'm going to check theirs to see how far they simplify. So that's what I did. I'm going to try to remember I have square root of 1 plus square root 2 over 2 all over 2. So let's get rid of that. Look at theirs and see what they did. Alright, so that's their answer. I'm going to hit this button so I can write on it again. Takes a lot of space doing it this way. We had positive square root of 1 plus square root of 2 over 2 over 2. Okay? So they didn't actually do a lot of simplifying here. All they did is say, okay, we have a little fraction inside of a fraction, and we don't want that. So we're going to multiply top and bottom by 2. Okay? If we multiply top and bottom by 2, we end up with, I'll distribute that 2 plus the square root of 2 over 4. And the top, there's not a whole lot I can do, but the bottom, square root of 4, becomes 2. So that's why in the answer you don't see a square root in the denominator, because they took the square root of the denominator and they just left the numerator the same. Okay, so that's what you're doing on those.